Over the centuries, the English countryside has provided the setting for many of the most magnificent stately homes to be found anywhere in Europe. With time, many have been destroyed, torn down, or abandoned. Some have managed to survive. This is the story behind 10 of them, 10 unique and splendid houses, behind whose doors stand many of the nation's artistic and cultural treasures, most of them still homes to the families who built them, all of them living monuments, linked by 1,000 years of English history. This is, without doubt, the finest example in England of a medieval castle, and its dramatic turbulent history reflects the history of the nation itself. Most of the fortifications seen today were constructed in the 14th century, although the origins of the castle go back 900 years, when William the Conqueror ordered the first fortifications to be built here in 1068. The mound where they stood is still in place. Caesar's Tower, a masterpiece of medieval military architecture, was completed in the early 1300s. It was followed by the Gatehouse and Guy's Tower, named after the legendary Saxon Guy, Earl of Warwick. Richard III ordered extensions to the north wall, which were never completed because Richard himself was killed in the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. Later, Warwick's ramparts successfully held out against a royalist army in the Great Civil War of the 17th century. Warwick Castle was built on the banks of the Avon, 12 miles upstream from Shakespeare's Stratford. Around its great walls, a large community grew up, comfortable in the protection the fortress offered. The largest room in the castle is the Great Hall, an appropriate setting for part of a spectacular collection of arms and armour. In all, the castle has over 1,000 pieces. The armour on the horse is German, dating from 1523, and the rider is weighed down with incredibly heavy Italian jousting armour, probably made in the 1540s. This is the armour worn by the second Baron Brooke when he was killed by a sniper, shot through the eye in the Civil War. The death mask of the man for whose ideals he laid down his life, Oliver Cromwell, hangs a few feet away. For most of the last 10 years, Bill Norbury has been fighting a never-ending battle, armed only with his pots of polish, to keep the castle's vast collection glinting and gleaming.
When I'm polishing the armour, I really think about probably the people to whom it belonged and why and what they did. Holes in the armour particularly, one wonders how did the holes get there, were they injured in battle and things like that, of course. Of course, the life expectancy in the 1600s was very low anyhow, so therefore people who engaged in this profession, it's quite probable their life expectancy would be less than 30 years of age.
This fine English suit of armour was owned by James Graham, Marquis of Montrose, who died in 1650 at the ripe old age of 38. His portrait now hangs in the Red Drawing Room, the first of the state rooms to be created in the 17th and 18th centuries. As in so many of the treasure houses, these grand staterooms were designed with a kind of lavish elegance intended to satisfy the whims of the princes, kings and queens who regularly passed through them. If you didn't like the colouring of the red drawing room, well, there was always the green drawing room. Or failing that, the blue boudoir. And this is the state dining room, the new dining room, added in 1763, where the earls entertained most of the royalty of the day, including Queen Victoria and Prince Albert, who came to lunch in 1858. Another frequent visitor was Victoria and Albert's son, the Prince of Wales, later Edward VII, who'd often arrive with a large group of friends for one of the Earl and Countess of Warwick's frequent and very popular weekend parties. Today, remarkable wax portraits from Madame Tussauds recreate one such party held at Warwick Castle in the summer of 1898, using the same rooms and much of the furniture that would have been here then.
This is a lovely little room, the boudoir. There was a very bad fire here in the year 1871, and all this panelling, very French, came in from a great house in France. The lady sitting down on the chair reading a letter which the groom of the chamber has just given her is the beautiful Countess Frances Evelyn, Countess of Warwick. She was known as Daisy Warwick, terribly well-known character in the Victorian times and Edwardian times. In those days, of course, she was the #1 hostess. Apart from being beautiful, she had a great castle, but they entertained everyone, the real consequence in this castle. And the principal person that came very often was the Prince of Wales, became King Edward VII. His son came, the Duke of York, everyone he could think of. When you think back over the centuries, all these important people have come here, and they almost encapsulated in the walls of this wonderful medieval castle.